Okay.
Yep.
So, first thing first, Ian, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm all right,
Thanks
you.
for having me.
Oh, no problem.
Yeah.
Our pleasure. What I want to start with is, well, you mentioned just now that you work at a radio station. You host a classic rock segment, I believe.
That's right. It's called Rock Classicer, and we broadcast from Stockholm, nationwide. So I've been working there for 16 years.
Do you remember? Well, this is going to be a little bit difficult, but who's your go-to artist or singer that you'll put on?
That I return to,
or maybe the first one when they said to you, well, you can host a radio show. Who's the first artist you thought of playing?
Well, it's all the music programming is being done by
Okay.
musical executives. I don't actually
Okay.
have to do the music programming, but I mean the music we play is it's a mix of everything from the 70s up till 2000, I would say, but also with a focus on the 80s kind of style, because the 80s rock music is very strong in the among the listeners. So there's a lot of Europe being played, of
Okay.
course.
Definitely, but so in the 80s, I think let me count. You were 16 when in 1980, if I'm right.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah.
So in that period, in the beginning of the 80s, what was the type of music that you were listening to?
I was listening to. I liked Rush, for instance. I was a big Rush fan, and still am. And Deep Purple was one of my favorite bands, and Rainbow, so UFO, Thin Lizzy, those kind of bands. And I have to say, I didn't really discover many new bands in the 80s. Actually, I listened a little to Iron Maiden and a little to Def Leppard when they came around. But my heart and soul has always been in the 70s.
Okay.
In the 70s kind of rock music, yeah.
So when you started making music yourself, what was your mentality then in the 80s, early 80s?
Well, the first band that I started writing songs with, we were obviously very influenced by Rush. So we tried to do a lot of different odd time meters and a lot of aggression. I think we were a little influenced by Iron Maiden as well. The new wave of British heavy metal, the whole, basically with a punk attitude in the bottom,
Right.
but still with classic rock on top. So those were the bands that sort of gave us a kick.
Mm-hmm. And at this point, age 16, 17, what was your ambition?
I don't think you had any ambition, not to like, oh, I'm going to become a rock star or something. It was more like just play together, have fun, try and put together shows and go and play in different schools and stuff like that. Just to go out and play as much as possible. It was just I guess it was just need you had within you to express yourself, and because I mean all my friends or the ones who were not playing in a band, they were into motorbikes and
Sure.
chasing chicks around, while me and the guys in the band, we were basically in the rehearsal room every day and just rehearsing and writing music.
So this need, you say, do you know when this kind of started?
Yeah, I remember exactly when it started for me. It was, I mean, to start with, I remember I used to, when I was probably 5-6 years old, I used to play on my mother's pots and pans in the kitchen,
Okay.
because it was something with playing drums and making sounds by hitting something. But when I definitely realized that I'm going to be a musician was when I saw Rainbow the first time in Stockholm in 1976, and especially with Cozy Powell's drum solo, it was just so magic. That whole energy with the band on stage and playing together, and the power, you were just raped by rock and roll power. So I remember that after that show or during that show, I just felt like this is it. This is what I want to do, one way or another.
So I assume then you get a drum kit. What
Yeah.
is it like then? Because you see somebody playing like that, and then you have to start somewhere. So
Yeah.
so what is that transition like?
Yeah, I mean, it's back in the day when I started playing it. You didn't have the YouTube
Sure.
or anything that you could see or find instruction video. So you basically had to figure it out by yourself. And so basically by looking at other drummers, and I remember when I started playing drums, I had it. I was, I'm a left-handed drummer, but parts of my kit was set up right-handed.
Right.
So it was like a mixture of left and right, and that felt, okay for me. And then I started going to a teacher to get lessons, and he said, the first lesson he said, okay, set up the drum kit the way you want it, and I did. I set it up the mixed way that I was used to. And he said, no, this won't work. Either it's left-handed or it's right-handed. And I was like, oh, okay. So I had to be left-handed because that felt more natural, I guess. Okay. So, yeah.
I want to fast forward a little bit to 1986. Obviously, 30-year anniversary for the Final Countdown. What is your memory of that year, so to say? Well, what is your feeling when you think back about that year?
It was a year when well, we basically came from being a touring band in Sweden, playing in like, well, smaller gigs, and so we didn't have any international experience before that.
Right.
So we got the contract with Epic's CBS Epic or whatever it was called, international record company, and so all the big things happened that year that became the base for our success. But obviously we didn't know by then when we signed the recording contract.
Sure.
And we well, I remember we were looking for a producer for the Final Countdown album, and I know we approached Bruce Fairbairn, who had produced Bon Jovi's "Slippery When Wet." We approached what's his name? Well, Mutt Lange, obviously, the Def Leppard producer, and Dieter Dierks, who produced the Scorpions.
Okay.
And none of them were interested. I think Bruce Fairbairn he wrote back, well, this is okay, but I can't hear any hits.
But so the songs were all already done when you.
Yeah, we had the demos for the songs ready. So then we got in touch with Kevin Elson through the American record company, and Kevin Elson had produced Journey, among others, before us. And Journey was one of our, idol bands. So we thought that sounded really cool to have Journey's producer. So he came over to Sweden and we did a pre-production of the album. So we rehearsed for maybe 3 weeks or something when we went through all the songs together and changed bits and pieces. And then we flew to Zurich, or outside Zurich, to a studio called Powerplay, and that's where we recorded the album. And I remember we did it fairly fast.
Okay.
Maybe we stayed there all together for a month, I think. And then we did everything except for the lead vocals, because Joey got some kind of a weird infection or something. He couldn't perform at that time. So we did all the basic tracks, and then we packed everything down and went home. And then a little later, a couple of months later, Joey went to Kevin Elson's studio in Nashville and did all the vocals. So, and then finally we took the whole thing to San Francisco and mixed it at Fantasy Studios. Okay. So it was a sort of withdrawn process. But we then again, we didn't have any experiences, so we didn't know what to expect, and we certainly didn't expect any of this mega, success that we had.
You say one of the producers that you kind of looked at said there weren't no hits on
Yeah.
the. Oh, what was your opinion or the opinion of the band? Did you know the Final Countdown, the single, was a good song? A good song?
I remember the first time Joey played me the Final Countdown demo cassette tape, as it was
Right.
back in the day, and we were sitting in his car, so we like listening in the car stereo, and he said, yeah, listen to this song. This is the last song for the Final Countdown, or for the new album. We didn't know what it was going to be called at the time, so it was the Final Countdown, and So I remember my first feeling when I heard the song was, this is an interesting song, but I didn't get the feeling that this is going to be a hit song.
Okay.
I had stronger hit feelings from Rock the Night or Carrie, obviously, but I didn't think the Final Countdown would be the first single, or that it would become such a mega hit.
Right.